Hi everyone, this is a continuation of my aftermarket stereo install. In this video I'll show you how to dismantle a 2003 Ford Expedition's front and rear door and install aftermarket 5.7 speakers. The speakers I've chosen for this install are the Hertz DCX 570.3. They're coaxial speakers and they're very efficient and run well with an aftermarket head unit. The tools you'll need for this project is a panel removal tool if you have one. If not, you can find something else to just pry these pieces of plastic off. You'll need a 7mm socket. You'll need a T20 Torx head for your screwdriver, and you'll need a regular Phillips screwdriver. First thing you do is you pry the piece of plastic by the door handle off with your panel removal tool or something you could get in there to pry with. It snaps right off. Then you remove the control console for the windows and door locks. Pops right up. Unsnap it. Take off the little thin tab that hides the two T20 Torx bolts and remove those bolts there. They're pretty easy to remove. Then your next bolts that you'll remove, they're barely in there, they're just kind of snug, they're not really tightened very much because it's in plastic, is your 7mm bolts at the bottom of the door. They're really loose in there, and when you tighten them down they just barely tighten. And the last thing that you're going to disconnect is your Phillips head screw right there on the corner of the door. And once you take that out, you're ready to go ahead and lift the door off. And the door lifts straight up. You just lift straight up and it comes right off. It's really easy. You'll have to disconnect where the power mirrors are, if you have power mirrors. And there's the speaker. The speaker's held on by 4 screws. They're 7mm. You just unscrew those. I was surprised that the front speaker actually was 2 speakers. It was a tweeter and a smaller mid-range, and it was pretty heavy too. It was in its own plastic container. The back speakers you'll see later, it's just a paper cone, cheapy, single speaker with no tweeter or anything. Those are the Hertz speakers. I had to cut the piece of metal off the ends to get it to fit. Use some snips for that. I had to make some adjustments to the speaker harnesses that snap in for the factory fittings. They had the terminals, one side of the terminal was big, one side was small, so I had to cut the small off and put a regular terminal on the end of it so it fit on the speaker, because the speaker, they were the same size. And then you just screw it in and you're good. Repeat every step. Back again. I didn't film putting the door back on because my camera ran out of battery. So here I am on the second door. I basically pried off the door handle part, the same as the front. Took off the console for the window, the exact same. It also has a little thin strip there for the Torx bolts. Pop that off just like the front door. Disconnect those. And all you have left is the same 2 7mm bolts at the bottom of the door and the Phillips screw on the corner of the door. So I was really surprised at how easy these came off. There was only a few screws that you have to undo, and the dismantling of the plastic pieces was really easy. They came off just so simple, and when you put them back on they snap right on with no problem. All I had to do was just line up the door lock to get it in there. So there, I'm removing the Phillips head screw, and I just pull up on the door, take the door lock out, and it's ready to go. Like I said, the back speakers, they didn't have the tweeter like the front. It was just the paper cone speaker with just one way. same with those, they were just mounted at a different angle. Just 4 screws, take them out. I had to make the adjustments to the factory harness. You could see one end's red and one end's white. They were both white before, but I had to change that. And there I'm snipping the ends off the speaker so they could fit in the enclosure. Plugging in the wires, getting the screws in there to hold it in, and trying not to drop it. I got the screws in, and basically you just screw them in there, make sure they work. Before I put the panel on all my doors, I turned the radio on to make sure the speaker worked. And once I got sound out of it, then I went ahead and closed it all up. On my driver's side door, I actually had a problem with the factory speaker mount. The little harness that I bought to go in the factory speaker, one of the tabs came out of it, so I had to do a little repair there and get it back in, and luckily it went back in. So here I'm just putting the door back on, and basically all you do is you just make sure your door lock's in the little slider for the door lock hole. It sits right in there pretty easy on the guides, and you just push it down a little bit and it goes right down. You could tell that you have the door on right if your Torx bolts and your bottom door bolts all line up when you look at them. After you get the door pressed down, you'll know it's down all the way. So you just repeat your steps backwards. You screw in the bolts, and once you screw in the bolts, you just pop in the control console for the window and snap back the plastic piece around the door handle, and you're done. It was pretty easy to do. The only trouble that I ran into was having to adjust those speaker adapters that I bought that plug into the speaker. So that's how to install your speakers on a Ford Expedition and dismantle all the panels. Hopefully you learned something from this and could add aftermarket speakers to your car. Thanks for watching.